Hello, friends, and welcome to 40K by Night. My name is Steve Joel. I'm one of the hosts of this podcast, which aims to make us all better at the game of 40K with Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights. And we're doing a series. We're going to launch a series starting right now where we deep dive into each of the detachments in the new book. And we'll also do a deep dive into the one detachment that people are still able to use that is not technically in the new book, but we'll get to that later. We're kicking it all off today with the Spearhead Lance detachment. This is the one where you get to take all the armages that you want to take and they all get battle line. We'll get more into the details on that in a second with our special guest for the episode, the one who's going to help us through all of the tactics and the strategy and the minutiae of playing Spearhead to the best of your ability and my ability. And if we could ever get to his ability, that would be incredible. The guest was the #1 player in the ITC for Imperial Knights over the last 12 months, Rees Darvill. Welcome. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, thank you, Steve. I'm doing good. Lovely intro. Feel blessed to have that again.
Well, I'm loving being able to give you that intro. I mean, it's so good, right? And I put a post up. I don't know if I said this last time, but congrats on the achievement. I mean, that is to be #1 in the ITC. Last time we spoke, I think, was pre the big event in the States, the World Champs, where Brian Jones was going, and he was going to try and get enough points to, I don't know if he was going to be able to get to you or get close. He ended up in 3rd spot with I think, was it Oliver in 2nd?
It was indeed.
Yeah, so this is the man you literally were 1 point ahead of at one of the events. So I don't know if that made the difference in the end. But anyway, congrats. #1 in the ITC is a huge achievement, and it's great to have you as part of the show. It's a privilege for us to have you on board. I want to do a couple of, if I can, housekeeping things before we rock into talking about Spearhead. Letting people know that we have a Discord, which is free. There are an awful lot of people in the Discord. You get to ask questions of people like Rees and Oliver, who are both active members of the Discord. Brian Jones is in there as well, and Stig and me and a whole host of other people who are always in there, always kind of keeping an eye on things, answering questions. It's a really great, positive community to be a part of. And whatever you want to know, there is bound to be someone in there who can help you out. The other thing is we have got, of course, the Patreon. And if you're a member of the Patreon, you get a discount on the dice, you get a discount on the merch, and you get priority in asking questions for these episodes. If you put up a question, we will answer your question if you're a Patreon. That's the guarantee. So thank you so much to the people who are Patreon members. We're on YouTube. So you could have seen Rees yawning his way through my dialogue there. That would have been, you did your best to cover it. But for our YouTubers, you'll be able to see it on the video. I love being on YouTube. It's so cool.
Don't have to expose me like that.
It's all at 40kbynight.com. The YouTube links, the podcast links, everything is up there. The links to buy the dice. Whatever you want to do, man, it's at the website 40kbynight.com, which I can throw up here as a banner. Show that. There we are for our YouTubers. So, Rees, Spearhead, which I know you've been using a lot. What do you think of what is the appeal for you? What are the advantages of Spearhead? Why do you like it?
I think it's the most methodical detachment we have. It's got so many moving pieces throughout the game that need to be layering buffs, that need to be in specific places. And I think out of all the knight detachments, it plays the slowest game, which is probably my most enjoyable archetype to play. I like grinding a game out. I like being able to play that attrition-based gameplay. And Spearhead basically offers me the best option to do that.
Right. It is, and that's actually a great point. If you're coming into this, if you're picking up the book and you're going, okay, which detachment do I think I want to play? I've tried Spearhead a couple of times, and I'm going to be honest, it's not really for me because that grindy, very tactical, very deep thinking, layering that's not how I want to do it. I'm more of a set up for the go turn and then push and go nuts kind of player. I really enjoy Valor Strike. I really enjoy Questor's Companions. I haven't tried Gate Warden, but I have tried Spearhead a few times, and I am struggling with it, which is, for anyone else who's struggling with it, this is the episode that is going to help us out because we've got the best in the world at Spearhead with us right now to answer our questions. All right, so for people who are new, Rees, give us the lowdown of what Spearhead is, what it does, what is the detachment?
Basically, it's the detachment that lets you bring all the little knights. We
Right.
lost line on all of our armages. Spearhead gives it back to us.
Yeah.
Along with the big lads, they give out their buffs. So you get your bondsman, which usually only affects one. Spearhead makes it so each big knight can affect up to 3 armages. They can't have multiple, but they can have
Right.
up, which is nice.
Which is bonkers in a way when you think like the defender, which is almost your go-to in every list, kind of big knight for Spearhead, and we'll explain why soon. But your defender giving out -1 damage to 3 different armages is amazing. Or the castigator or
crazy.
warden giving out sustained hits to 3 different Helverins, for example, if that's the way you want to do it, or Moiraxes, whatever you got. That is amazing, right? And that's kind of the big appeal, getting 3 knights with the bondsman buff for free.
Yep.
Yeah. The other thing, as you mentioned, battle line, and although the key point here is only the little knights get the strats. So all of the strats that are available, and we'll go through them soon. If your little knights get chipped off bit by bit, and all you've got left at the end is the big knights, the strats don't apply to them, which is worth remembering, right?
Yeah. It's interesting as well because I think Spearhead, out of all the detachments, has the biggest difference of matchup matrix compared to all the other detachments. So, like,
Right.
when you're playing Spearhead, your matchups, what you want to see and what you don't want to see, can vastly differ between sort of Valor Strike and Questoris, which are quite similar, to Spearhead, which that -1 damage across 3 Little Knights, honestly, it changes the game. Like, it makes, for example, Genestealer Cults, that matchup, a huge win rather than a rough game.
Right. Yeah, there are some, as I've discovered a couple of days ago, there are some armies you face where it doesn't matter. -1 damage. You're talking about the difference between a 7, an 8, a 6, that kind of thing. But if you're playing Blood Angels or Custodes or, I don't know, World Eaters, even just so many armies where the damage is 2 or 3, even 4 going down to 3, like that's like having your feel no pains back again, right?
Yeah, it's that extra wound that needs to go through, which just it skews that maths, right, and it makes it so much more pleasant to play into because your knights aren't just getting blown off the table, which at the minute feels like they do every other game.
Yeah, well, that's right. And that's, I think, the hardest adjustment for me is just the extraordinary change in durability. Where before you used to be able to rely on something surviving and holding a point, the durability change and the OC change means it just becomes, playing knights has become a lot more nuanced, and I'm just not a very nuanced sort of a human being. So it's just harder. Everything's just that little bit trickier. We kind of have to play Warhammer like other armies play Warhammer now, which is be a bit more cagey. And is that fair to say? Where you have to be a bit more tactical and not quite so gung ho.
Yeah, we have to be a lot more methodical with it, and we have to respect a lot more output, which
Yeah.
I kind of liked just running knights forward at points, if I'm honest. It was kind of fun, but, there we go.
Yeah. So with Spearhead, the are there enhancements that you want to put on your book? Actually, let's go back a step. I'm jumping ahead too far. One of the questions that has come up in the Discord and in the Patreon, the most common questions when we're talking about Spearhead, let's go right to list construction. We've done, by the way, our last episode was a whole big episode on list construction. So we've kind of already dealt with this, but Spearhead almost writes itself. Is that fair to say? What is the ideal list, do you think, for a Spearhead army?
I think it all comes down to one question, right? Do you want 1 big or do you want 2 big? Personally,
Yeah.
for me, my ideal is 1. I adore playing 1 defender, 10 smalls, some allies, and I make that game miserable for my opponent because they just have to go through waves of -1 damage armagers or armagers of -1 AP at points. And it's just
Yeah.
never ending, right? And I adore that. It's such a fun way to play for me. But then you've got the
Yeah.
option for 2 big, which is a much more trade sort of based gameplay. Because the output you can get, right, it can punch. It can pick up most things. It's a really strong way to play it, but you're
Yeah.
more mobile, right? If you lose a couple of armagers here or there, suddenly it starts hurting.
Well, and that's the thing. If you're, maybe I need to go to the one big, because I have been playing two, and it's either the Castigator or the Warden. They both offer a very similar buff. Maybe GW needs to address that because it's very similar. The Warden, for folks who are newer to this, gives you the buff of sustained hits and extra AP on those hits. And that, for the Warden, the sustained also goes into combat. So if you put it on a Warglaive, for example, they'll get the sustained in shooting and then also in combat. Whereas the Castigator only gets the sustained hits, or gives out the sustained hits to the three baby knights for shooting. So it just seems like logical to put that on three Helverins if you're clever enough to keep them within a 12-inch bubble of your big knight. Do you have a preference for Warden, Castigator, or something else if people are going to take a second big knight?
Again, it comes a lot down to play. I like the Castigator a lot because the +1 AP is really nice. I get more use out of it than the ignore cover. And it means the big thing about Spearhead is it's a very CP intensive detachment, right? There's always something you want to be doing with that CP. And if I can take away the need for using +1 AP as a strat and just have it built in on tap, I find that super handy. I think that's much more useful for my ongoing game plan. The Warden is better in the sense of it has indirect guns, so you can just tag something randomly, because one of the strats which gives the AP requires the big to have shot it. So it just gives you, you have those little spare guns to shoot around to threaten that strat. It helps out a lot on that one. Another option.
This is just to cut across you for a second, but I hadn't even thought of that. That is such a great call.
Yeah.
You can put the top hat on the Warden that has the indirect.
Yeah.
And tag something, then you've hit it, then you get to use the strat if you need to. If the Wardens can kind of hit some edge and get an angle on the thing you want to kill, if you've tagged it with the Warden from behind a wall, okay, then you get to use the strat on a couple of Helverins and shoot it with the extra AP and the sustained and
ignore cover.
And ignores cover. Okay, wow. See, this is the high level thinking that we've come here for. Very good. Right. And there was another big knight that you quite like the sound of as well, too, right?
The Preceptor. I have come to absolutely adore running that as my second option.
Okay. If you were going to run a second option, which you never do, because your preference is to make life miserable for your opponent.
Someone has to.
Which is a viable, way to do things. Okay, so when you're building your list, are there enhancements in Spearhead that are an absolute must-have? Do you think, or are there certainly seems to be one, but are there others?
Mental's Pride. Like, it's just a given, right? That is the best one we have. What it is it allows you to, when you're bonded, you reroll ones. It does what it says on the tin. And it is a beautiful thing. Because if you've got sustained on there and you just roll those ones, suddenly you get a fish for sixes a little bit. It gives you that reliability. It just makes those knights more reliable. That's the main part of it. Right. The key thing to note with the enhancements, which I think people have missed at points as well, is you have to have 2 or more armages alive to use them. If you only have it on 1, you actually can't use the enhancement buff.
Right.
Because the wording is 2 or more.
Yeah. Very good. Now, let's interrupt you there in your talk about enhancements, because we wanted this to be like one of those mythical creatures, a 3-headed monster today. And the 3rd head of the monster has turned up. Stig! Hey! He's here.
How are we?
Welcome. How are you, man?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good. Apologies for interrupting your flow, Rees.
How unprofessional.
Well, apologies for interrupting.
Yeah, exactly, totally.
Thank you for joining us. So we're talking Spearhead, as you know. We've kind of we've gone through the list conversation where we've talked about whether it's one big or two bigs, very much down to preference. Rees is a one big kind of guy, loves the defender, lots of baby knights, making life miserable, 3 baby knights getting -1 damage out there to hold objectives, and just waves of that happening and making it just hard to get through while picking up points. I don't know. Have you played much Spearhead, Stig?
I've not really, and it's funny because our studio army, our TT studio army, we got our new army just before the book came out, and we at that before then we only had a really small number of armigers, and then just before the book came out, we suddenly have plenty. Funny that, but I haven't had a chance to get them all on the table, and that is like the full 6 of each that we could run out. So it's definitely something I'm excited to have a go. I totally get Reese's one big thing. I'm not good enough for that. I would always have the crutch of the second, probably Warden, but that's a separate thing. But I'm definitely more of the having the extra big just in case. Although I very much had forgotten the element that you just mentioned about the enhancement and requiring the 2 or more. So
Yeah.
it kind of does make a lot of sense as to why you really invest into the armored bodies themselves.
Yeah, there's when you talk about not being good enough, see for someone at my skill level, the idea of more armigers actually feels like it makes it slightly easier to play the game. One of the big things I was saying to Rees before we started, one of the big things I had trouble with Spearhead was making sure the 2 big knights were able to buff the right little knights, keeping the correct little knights within the 12-inch bubble, because I want to buff, say, use the Castigator to buff the 3 Helverins, and I want to use the Defender to buff the 3 Warglaves, and then I want to put the Warglaves in the right spots and the Defender in the right spot for the next turn so they can do it again. And just having those layers of being able to keep everybody in the right spots, that's what I found the hardest. With just one big knight to worry about and a stack of little knights, Rees, does that make things easier, do you think, in terms of the layering, or does it not make a difference?
It can make management easier. The issue you run into is on a lot of terrain, 11 armigers is quite hard to not jam up.
Right. Yeah.
And that's
So
your biggest issue.
Would you, if you're running one big and a whole lot of littles, we're kind of jumping ahead here, but this is a fair question. Do you then just generally keep some off the table depending on the deployment?
Depends on matchup more than deployment, if I'm honest. So if I'm playing into stuff like, say, GSC or Infantry Heavy Guard, I'm never keeping them off the board because I'm never getting them on. Like, that's just how it is. Or if they've got no real ranged output and there's some good lanes to be going up, I might keep less off and keep more on. But in general, I do like to keep 2 to 3, usually 2 Helverins and a Warglaive, depending on the matchup. But we can be more flexible now that we have the strat to bring up to 3 off the board, which is just insane.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably the next logical question about the strats. What are do you list build looking at strats and thinking, oh, I can work into that stratagem? Or are there just strats that you use situationally? It feels like in this one, Stig, and I might be wrong, I don't know what you think of the book, but it feels like there are lots of great strats, but they're all in the right situation strats, maybe.
Yeah. This is definitely more of a toolbox than like a bunch of heavy hitters, right? It just gives you more options to play the game. It doesn't give you a sort of avenue to play. It just lets you play all the paths, which I really like.
Yeah, and I guess what I mean by that... Sorry,
Steve. I was just going to say, I guess what's interesting with Spearhead versus the Hound Horde equivalent in the CSM book is because almost we are so limited in the armigers too, like realistically, because yes, Moiraxes are a thing, but when have you last seen one? Realistically, there is an element of these are our 2 tools. But what appendage to those tools am I going to use? I.e., what moment so to a certain degree, you're almost more aware of when the situation is going to come up for using this specific stratagem or that one, because you've simplified it another way. If the detachment was more variety of small body, i.e., CSM, but the stratagems aren't quite as strong, then your extra play, your toolbox, as it were, is coming from the models. This gives you a little bit more, I think, a better way of getting better with them because you're more open to it, because you're not kind of also thinking about which one of my 3 types or 4 types am I going to try and use this on.
Yeah, the other thing is, if we're talking, say, for example, with Questoris Companions, you can build a list around the strats. Like there are a couple of strats in there that you want to, like I'm putting a Lancer in there because a Lancer wants to be able to advance and charge, right? So that's an example of, say, okay, we've got a couple of strats here that I want to list build around. But in Spearhead, we're not doing that as much as building it around the core rule of the detachment. That's what you want to build the list to. And then the stratagems when they come up are really great. And so what are the ones, Rees, that in your experience you're using the most, or you want to keep an eye out for the opportunities to use the most?
I think again, all of them have their place, right? I think there isn't one that I don't find myself using throughout. Like if I'm doing an event, right, there isn't one I haven't used.
Right.
I think let duty be your shield, which is the -1 AP at range. I absolutely adore having that on tap. An armature in cover with that, you're getting basically -2, which on average isn't equivalent to having rotate. Obviously, there's situations where it's not quite as good, but with that, and then you stack -1 damage, that armature on a point, if they can't get a melee threat into it that turn, is really obnoxious to take away.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. I love the rapid fire strat. That is such a fun strat to have on Melter Warglaves.
Okay, so give us the rapid fire strat. Give us the lowdown on how that works. See, when it came up, my first thought was, okay, that's a lot more shots on a Helverin, but actually everybody seems to love it on the Warglaves. So how many shots do you end up with and what happens?
So it's only rapid fire 1, so you're only getting the extra 1 shot when you're in half range. But you're going from 2 shots on a Warglaive to 3. And if you've got that reroll, suddenly you're converting. Obviously, again, depends on the target, but on average, you're converting 1.5 to 2 hits rather than 0.5 to 1. So it's giving you much more consistency. And 3 Warglaives are 3 shots apiece, dealing like all that melter damage. There's not much that stands up to it. And it's not like you have to shoot the same target to get the rapid fire. It's not like the big has to shoot the target for you to get it. It is just your Warglaives have rapid fire.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's because there is always the moment, right, where the Warglaive whiffs. Like the Warglaives are so good with rerolls. With the reroll on that giant melter within melter range, most things die. But then every now and then you roll a 1 and a 2, and you roll one of them back into a 1 or a 2, and it's nothing, or the wound roll doesn't work, or whatever. So you need another Warglaive. But having the extra shots across the board, I keep forgetting it's on 3.
Yeah, it's on 3, but it's also the fact of it does give it allows it to be a little bit easier to also not choose rerolls if you actually in the right matchup you need the movement, etc., because you're adding that consistency back in a different way. So you're effectively achieving the same thing, but in a different manner.
Yeah. Which brings up a great question. So again, if we're just looking broadly, or does it depend on the opponent or the deployment or the whatever? Are you always choosing rerolls, or are there situations where you choose something else? And attached to that, what is the easiest way to get on it? Not that it matters a great deal in this detachment, but you get an extra 3 inches of range, which kind of helps with the layering. So what is the easiest and best way? Again, though, is that matchup dependent?
So I actually think it matters the most, specifically in this detachment, to get honoured, because that +3 inch to your aura for Bondsman is actually really big. It lets you play that a little bit more aggressive or a little bit more spread, and it's such a big buff to push for. I really like getting turn 1 honoured on Spearhead. It makes the game so much easier.
So how do you do that?
It depends. That depends on the matchup, right? Sometimes you can control more quite easy turn 1. Sometimes you can kill more than the round counter. That one really just does come down to matchup and what you're playing. That's just knowing what's going to happen. Okay. But in regards to what I go for, unless I want to differ due to the matchup, my go-to on Spearhead is OC and Leadership.
Okay, really? And why? Because I have just been defaulting to the rerolls anyway, but why the OC and Leadership?
Because if I'm playing a detachment where I'm trying to grind out a game, my whole intent isn't to kill the enemy model as efficiently as possible. It's to keep the score differential as different as possible. And if I can deny primary, I might kill, say I'm playing demons, right? I might kill one less greater demon over the course of the game without rerolls, but I've scored 15 more on primary due to having the OC, the leadership to ignore some of the battle shocks and sort of work around that. It consistently makes scoring a much easier thing to do.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know about you, Stig, but I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, my go-tos have always been the rerolls or sometimes the movement, but it just feels like it's a feels bad at the start of the game to choose OC and leadership. But it makes sense if that's what you're doing, the defender and the lots of baby knights.
I think that is exactly it. It's the fact of like, how are you intending, or why are you picking this detachment, and how are you intending it to play? And that's the difference there. You're not picking this detachment because we just talked about damage dealing warglaives, but you're not necessarily picking it because you're thinking about damage dealing. Really, you are thinking about playing the game, and only way of playing the game is be on points and get points out of that. So it makes sense.
The other thing with the rapid fire strat, but also the enhancement Mentor's Pride, which you can kind of give reroll 1s to 3 of your Helverins if you've got them. That kind of helps a little bit exacerbate the problem of no rerolls if you've got the ability to do other ways. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, would that, however, change? I'm just trying to anticipate the questions from our listeners, watchers, viewers. Does that change if you're taking 2 big? So we're kind of, that's the focus if you've got the 1 defender and then lots of baby knights. If you were taking 2 and you were looking at slightly more damage output from a Castigator, Warden, Preceptor, does that change the way you think about what you're picking?
Definitely. I think that one is a 50-50 coin flip at that point on, do I need to play aggressive this game and push up and be the aggressor, or am I playing a staging game? If I'm being the aggressor, I'm taking that move because it's just so good, right? Armigers moving 14, getting up in their grill. You're able to then get closer for that rapid fire range on average, get closer for that melter range. And even just, like I was playing into LGT, I played into Tau Ret Cadre. Just jamming 3 Warglaives with -1 damage who move 14 and then advance D6+1. I'm just sat on his line. I can't do anything because I can't charge or shoot, but I am just on his line, causing him an issue with 3 -1 damage models that he struggles to remove. And it asks such an aggressive question, and it gives you breathing room. Whereas, say I'm playing, like I was playing into CSM, and that was a much more drawn-out game. And in that point, I needed to be able to kill what I went into each time. I needed that efficiency. So that's where the re-rolls came in, just to give me the reliability.
Yeah. Well, it really just makes the point that knowing thy enemy is such a big deal in this game, and I feel like we've just got to watch more tabletop tactics battle reports, because that's how we get to know what other armies can do. It is the thing though, right? That's how, because people like me, I play once a week, maybe. Most weeks I get a game, some weeks not. So I don't just have the number of games under my belt to know what every army does. So you're going to have to watch bat reps or learn some other way what other armies can do. And it is so important if you want to get better at the game to learn what the other armies are capable of. Which is
100%. I think obviously you did the advert, I didn't, just for the record. But I gotta look after my people. But also just podcasts are a great source of the one thing I would say, and what I've fallen into a trap of in the past, which is why I'm saying it, is that sometimes you'll hear someone talk very knowledgeably on a podcast about a thing, and then you'll look it up and go, okay, that's not how that works. So it is good, but you've got to follow that up. So who in your local area plays that army that you just heard a cool thing? Let's find out how it actually works. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not as scary as the way that people on podcasts, he says, looking at the screen, make something sound, because dice happen, and suddenly
Yeah.
we don't get the thing that, oh, they said they always got this out of it. They always got 9 shots out of these 3 warglaives because of the rapid fire. It doesn't always happen. So there's where's your likelihood? What's your mitigation? And what are you planning for?
The dice. Don't talk to me about the dice. I just played a game. I was saying to Rees, I just played a game yesterday where I took Spearhead and I had 3 buffed Helverins shooting at something, I can't remember what, but they were wounding on 5s. But they had sustained and extra AP, and there were 3 of them, and they were all shooting. And I rolled out of all of those shots, not a single 5 to either hit or wound. Even with rerolls, not a single one. And my opponent was just like, wow, I've never seen that before.
Imagine if you'd just been a couple of inches closer, Steve, instead, and you
That's
wouldn't have.
That's right. Or if I had just taken one big knot and not worried about output and just tried to make their life miserable by being on a point with -1 damage. This is why we're here, to learn from people how to roll dice
This
better.
gentleman up here.
Yeah, there we go. So, all right, we've kind of covered off the enhancement you have to have as Mentor's Pride. The other ones are kind of, if you have points, maybe you put them in. We've talked about the the way you're dealing at the start of the game. It really comes down to knowing the person you're up against, but the extra OC and the extra leadership are really important. Don't just kind of sniff at those, because particularly in the one big list, really, really, really strong way to go about it. The way you get to be honored is kind of up to you depending on the matchup. I'm kind of falling back to the kill more units than battle rounds. Seems to be the easiest way, unless they have a character that is just going to come launching themselves forward and then you pick it. But the other ones I find too easy for your opponent to, they put a character out the front and you go, well, if I kill that, I get honored. And they go, cool, he's now back behind that wall for the rest of the game. So,
exactly.
And what's the other one? Hold more, but you have to hold more points at the end of their turn. Again, it's just too easy for them to come and get one and deny it. Rees, in your experience, are you finding that the kill more than battle rounds is the easiest way, or are there other ways to go?
Generally it is, because it's Knights as well, right? People want to screen you out. People want to stop you moving. You'll usually get given a kill or 2 to stop you going somewhere. And honestly, I don't mind trading that half the time. It's generally the main one I'd look at.
Although with the extra leadership and OC, maybe the hold more is also a viable option as well. Oh, no. If you're watching on YouTube and not listening as a podcast, Rees is tilting his head side to side in a very English way of saying, no, you're a complete idiot and that's wrong, but I don't want to be rude.
The issue with that is you're trading early game pieces without being able to get anything in return. So I'm just sticking Knights on points in hopes they don't die. I'm not killing a unit in return. I'm giving you my resources, and I'm not getting much. There's some matchups, don't get me wrong, where I think it's great because it draws them out. So if they don't have many trading pieces, or they only have a few sort of bits that can pick off a -1 damage knight, great. But a lot of the time, it is just you're asking for your knights to be killed, and you're not getting anything back for it.
Yeah.
You're kind of giving your agency over to your opponent. So you're giving them the control to allow what's happened, in the same way that you were talking about the character that's going to sit behind the wall forever. There's agency for your opponent, whereas the reality is they still have to do something, because if they don't screen it you out, then they're going to have problems otherwise. So for them to play the game, they have to do something, which does give you more possibility of more than battle round.
I guess I was thinking also on the right table layout, if you're putting -1 damage warglaives or whatever out onto a point and you're holding more, then they have to kind of come out and deal with it if they don't want you to get on it. So you kind of, in a way, pulling them out, you're putting some pretty good bait out, pulling them out to deal with it. And then when they do, then you can kind of go ham, is how I was thinking of it. But maybe, is that wrong?
Again, I'm going to keep saying this. It depends on matchup a lot.
Yeah.
But with us, we generally have a lower resource count than any other army. So if we're baiting to try and hold more, it generally means we're on 2 objectives. And that sometimes can be detrimental if we're losing 2 armigers to try and push that. It can be a huge loss.
Yeah.
I think the
Gotcha.
other one with that is also a little bit of terrain dependent as well, because of what the firing lines like.
Right.
Are you going on 2, but they're not going to bring enough guns to bear to be able to deal with both of those in a turn? For example, if you're on a very heavy table, then guess what? You've probably got more chance to do that with some mitigation of losing both. Otherwise, you are just literally waiting and hoping they roll bad.
But you don't even need to lose both, right? They can just take one,
Yeah.
and then you don't get honoured, and then that's another turn
Yeah.
of trying to play catch up with it.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other thing I have found in playing it, so I play against the same opponent quite a lot, so he really knows knights and how to deal with them now. But one of the things he is able to do is bring a bunch of baby knights, say, down to not many wounds left. If he's thinking, if you've got the right firepower, you've got enough things to do it, enough shooting to do it, whatever. But bringing a few baby knights down to 4 wounds left or 5 wounds left means that next turn he draws no prisoners and he goes nuts, or whatever. You can kind of suddenly your army can go from looking on the table like, I've still got a few resources here, to suddenly you lose
I had
4
resources.
or 5 baby knights. Yeah. And then suddenly now suddenly it's like, well, there are a lot of holes that they can get into. And yeah, so you got to be just careful about where you're putting things, how many you're putting out. If people can get lines of fire onto lots of different knights, then you could be in an awful lot of trouble. If not this turn, then next turn. So
One
I
thing,
guess,
going back to list design,
yeah,
I absolutely adore the Navigator and Spearhead.
yeah.
I think it is a struggle to keep the bigs as safe as possible without that Navigator. It lets you actually play up and make use of the aggressiveness you can have and threaten without worrying about your home objective or like a 10-man random unit dropping in behind you and wiping out your one defender, and suddenly you're left there with one armor, you're getting a strat every turn, and you are getting rinsed. That Navigator is gold.
So for people who are new to it, the Navigator gives a 12-inch bubble of not being able to deep strike in. So your opponent will have to get into your deployment zone the old-fashioned way, or get into your backlines the old-fashioned way. If you've got a defender handing out buffs, the Navigator is massive for protecting it. Which is a good point, actually. We kind of didn't touch on this when we were talking about list building, but if I haven't done the numbers, if you're taking a defender as your only big knight, you've got 10 baby knights. How much room do you have for agents? What can you squeeze in there?
A Calidus and a Navigator, exactly.
Perfect.
It's almost as if that was perfect.
Yeah, exactly what you want. And Mentor's Pride? No,
You're on the nose
you
2K
don't
at
need.
that point.
Yeah, you don't need it. Okay, great.
And that's just right,
So
because it's a listed 2K, so it just feels right.
Exactly.
yeah. So all right, let's talk tactics, general broad brushstrokes kind of thinking of gameplay. How does that work with your 10 baby knights, your one defender? Because I think I'm arriving at the point now where I'm like, if you're the kind of person that wants fun output, go ham, maybe this isn't the detachment for you. Maybe you want to go companions or valor strike or whatever. If you're the kind of person that likes grinding it out, I mean, I keep coming back to this, but Rees said this, Stig, at the start of the episode, making life miserable for your opponent. If you just want to be that kind of player, making it
If you
hard
also
work.
have a Death Guard army, then this is the detachment for you.
Hey,
Just
if
bigger
you're
custodies.
then I feel like maybe we've arrived at the ideal being the defender and 10 babies, Navigator Calidus. So with that list in mind, give us the thinking of general gameplay. How does it work?
So generally, defender starts pretty central or towards your natural expansion. So that's just the objective in No Man's Land closest to you, because that's
Right.
the easiest place for yourself to screen out rapid ingress threats, to keep it safe behind terrain, but also still be relevant when needed. Because late game, you can then push the defender onto that objective and move up with the armigers. It also means you can keep a few armigers at sort of that 12 to 15-inch bubble to the side that can then just push on and annoy the enemy's expansion. So you can
Right.
threaten that denial. So there's nowhere on the map that's really unplayable. You can touch all areas. You can push where you need to. And it gives you a base where you're not sort of stuck in deployment. You're not getting trapped. And you can push through. It's generally where I like to play from.
How many, actually, and this goes back to list construction, but keeping that in mind, what's your breakdown of Helverins to Warglaves? Because the Helverins, with the Defender there and no Castigator, are not really getting any shooting buff, unless the Defender pokes its nose out to shoot at something, and then you can spend a CP and give them +1 AP. So they are just shooting as Helverins with -1 people that are in cover. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud now.
No.
Oh, Stig's got his cat in the shop.
It's a dog.
It's a dog.
Oh, it's a dog. Sorry, I can only see the top of the shop.
If you haven't
Sorry,
watched
doggy.
YouTube and you've only been listening to podcasts, then this is the reason to go and join the YouTube channel as well.
Yeah,
Because
that's right.
every so often you'll get a tiny dog with a beard
That
jumping in to
is
say
the
hello.
cutest dog I've ever seen. What is it? Are we allowed to know your dog's name?
Her name is Cara, and
Cara.
she is 9 years old. She's an older lady.
Oh, so glad I'm watching on
Yeah.
YouTube right now to see that.
Yeah, the distinguished older lady of the podcast. I love that. That's so cool. I can't remember what.
And
the
she's got the
question was.
best beard out of all of us as well. So, you know.
You're asking about Helverins and Warglaves.
Yes, sorry.
Breakdown of the numbers, because you can take because battle line, you could take up to 6 Warglaves if you wanted, but is that what you're doing?
Yes. Yeah. You max out
Okay,
on Warglaves because with -1 damage, right? You're being annoying, you're being sticky. Having a weapon on top of that for melee, so you're not just sort of wet fish slapping something and not doing any damage, it makes a difference. So 6 Warglaive,
right.
4 Helverin. Although 4 Helverin, it's not the most threatening thing in the world, it still surprisingly puts work into marine bodies.
Right.
Even without the +1 AP, if you're giving enough saves, you're picking up that 5-man jump back incest unit. You're threatening that, the Templar Sword Brethren unit. You're not going to kill them all, but you're going to whittle them down to the point where they do not pick up a -1 damage armature efficiently.
And
I
also
guess
you do have their ability, right? And it can help because again, movement wins games. So if you're impacting that,
The other thing I keep forgetting is whatever they hit is suppressed, right?
Yep.
So the help, which is
I forgot that
huge.
so much.
I keep forgetting that because it wasn't a thing for years, but now it is. So whatever they shoot at is suppressed. If they shoot at different things, you've got a bunch of units. If it's a combat army that are suddenly hitting you on probably 4s, maybe 3s, but that's such a big deal.
It's really good.
Yeah. Also, there will come a point in the game where you want the gun of the defender, so it's going to stick its nose out, shoot at a thing.
Yeah.
Then you get to spend the CP if it's a big thing you're shooting at, and the Helverin can come into play.
Defender's got a few guns. It's got a few little sort of chaff clearing guns, which you can point at something random to then get the Helverin's +1 AP on that one. So you don't have to waste the whole sort of loadout of the defender, which is nice.
Yeah, great. All right, so we were at the general gameplay strategy kind of question. So the defenders, and again, I think this is a mistake probably a lot of people make, automatically putting crowding around home objective, but the defenders going central to buff as many things as possible, or inching towards expansion. You're screening out that corner. You've got the navigator probably on your home, screening out that corner and holding home at the same time. And then how does it play from there?
Basically, unless it's got -1 damage on it, 90% of the time the enemy won't see it. I make them chew through those -1 damage, and I'll put them somewhere right where the Helverin or the defender can get a bead onto shooting back. And then what you do is where you've created that space for the first one, the second one pushes up further, and it jams up even further to cut those lanes off from a counterpunch. And you just slowly crawl up the board that way, just choking the board state out. And although you're losing models, you're gaining the board state. So you're getting less reprisal, you're getting less hit back, and just even though, like most games of Spearhead, right, I end up with 1 or 2 models on the board, if that. But the opponent might have more, but they're in their deployment or they're on their far expansion, and they're just squeezed completely out of the game at that stage.
Right. Yeah, making life miserable for the opponent. Not worrying about output, just inching up the
Sportsmanship at
ball.
its finest.
It
But
does.
you always play sport, so I don't know. you must be
It does
doing it in
also
a
make
really
me.
lovely way.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing it with a smile and whilst buying them a drink, and it's all good. I'm just thinking somebody out there has got to hobby up a Custodes army that is basically a single guy standing on a pile of skulls on the right side armature bases, and they're just like a whole army made of the right height Custodes that have just like killed lots of things, and they're just standing there. Like that's that's what this needs to be done. Someone needs to do it.
Yeah, I love that. Or I want to now suddenly model up armigers in various states of being wounded, and so that when you pick off enough wounds, I'll swap the model out and put in one that's kind of lost a bunch
A
of
little
its
bit
body.
broken.
And then eventually it'll just be feet on a base. That's inching
Well,
its
that
way
is
up
the good
wall.
thing about magnets.
alive.
So you can just take bits off. That's if you magnetize, now you've got a reason for it. I just also like if my Custodes army idea is the defender is 3 Custodes in a trench coat.
Minions style, like the Minions movie. Just put 3 Custodes in a trench coat. There you go. It could be actually that would be about armiger size.
Exactly. It probably is.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
I do want to jump back quickly to something you said earlier, Steve, which was it feels like when your friend just goes for their no prisoners turn, you sort of go from having models to no models.
Yeah.
Spearhead is very much a detachment where models won't die in one turn usually. But the turn where models start dying, you will lose more than 3. You need to be prepared where you've got 5 or 6 on between 1 to 6 wounds. You're probably going to lose all 6 of those. And it's a list that can go from lots to no resources. And it's managing when that's going to happen is a big part of this.
Okay. So are you trying to get and this is what you used to do, but I don't know if it works anymore. Are you trying to get as many points as you can as early as possible and then forcing someone to catch up? Or is it a slowing? Are you playing out all 5 turns and trying to kind of get your points at the end of the game?
It's slower now. It's not so much you rush to get every point you can and then hope they can't catch up. A lot of it is you try to get enough points, and it's every turn I want to be getting 5 more points than my opponent on primary. And then with secondary, I can still score even. And if I do that over 3 turns, I've got 15 more points. And it's a case of denial while scoring rather than just try and rush to score your own. It's that balance now.
It's interesting because obviously that was the way that you were playing successfully, and obviously still successfully playing this way. What do you prefer? This is better for you personally, playing this more controlled manner?
I think it's taught me more. It's made it so games I win, I felt I've had more agency over rather than I've spiked on a 4-up or my opponent just didn't have an answer. It's given me more agency as a player to learn, which I've actually really appreciated, and it's taught me a lot more about the game and certain matchups. Rather than, sometimes in old one when you had the 5-up feel no pain and this, you'd run a lance and go, shoot me, you don't die, I win. And that's just life as it was sometimes.
You're saying like it's a bad thing. This is my whole my whole go 4-in-1 strategy at tournaments is just run the lance there.
At ITT this weekend, the teams tournament in UK, one of my locals, he was running triple lancer. Absolute respect to the man, and the way he said it was, I don't know my matchups, so what I do is I play like I have 2 lancers, because turn 1 I send one out and learn what their army does when it dies. Shout out Jip for that, man. What a hero.
Yeah
Very good. Oh, well, I'm not going to say the first person to run double lancer, but at the point I ran double lancer in the previous edition, I did get a lot of stick for it, and a lot of people on the Discord going, wait, are you the double lancer guy?
Full
respect for the triple lancer guy. That's amazing. All right, look, I feel like we want to get to the questions. We're getting lower on time. It's getting late in the part of the world where you guys live, and it's getting towards lunchtime in the part of the world where I live. Although it is lunchtime on a Friday, and I'm done for the day, gents, and I'm going to go and have some lunch and then go and enjoy my weekend. Sorry. Sorry about that gloating.
Friday's still to come for the rest of us.
Still a whole day of work left.
Yeah.
For the rest of the world. Let me get to the Patreon, because there is a question or two on the Patreon. And I should have had it up here already. I've been building my spearhead, says King Tat. Been building my spearhead lists around bondsman abilities, not so much the big knights' weapons abilities. Is focusing bondsman and little knights the appropriate approach, is the question.
It's how I like to build it. I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. Paul, that was a very quick answer. You didn't give me time to get to.
Let's expand. Yes,
itself,
yes, it
right?
really is.
Yeah. Paul says, thanks for all these amazing shows. You're welcome, Paul. It's our pleasure. I'm taking Spearhead to the Super Major Leicester GT in 2 weeks. It's Paul's first ever Super Major. And he was wondering if he's on the right track by taking 4 Warglaves and 4 Helvrins, or should he be taking more of one of them over the other? He's running Defender and Preceptor with Mentor as his 2 big knights.
Honestly, I like the even spread. It gives you variety. I think in the meta, there is both a lot of vehicles, there is a lot of free wound infantry.
Yeah.
They work well together, right? So I think that's a good move for him.
The Preceptor is the one with pick an opponent's unit, a prey target, and your 3 bonded Helverins or whatever they are also get to re-roll wounds against that unit, which is so good.
Which is massive. And I think the thing is with a super major in particular, more so than a GT, the mix of what you might playing against means that having that all comers nature of the even spread really, really comes into its own. So it might not have been exactly the same answer if it was a GT, but for a super major, 100%.
Yeah, great. All right, let's get to the questions in our Discord. Some of these we've already kind of covered off. Andy, how do you stop melee armies like World Eaters getting into your face and punching you repeatedly in the groin?
You don't. It's going to happen. It's more dictating where it happens. Obviously, they can generally move up pretty fast. They can tag most things. With World Eater, specifically for us, a huge thing to watch out for is that 20-man Berserker brick. It doesn't do the most damage, but it can move halfway up that board. And when it charges you, because it gets the 3-inch engagement range from the Lord on Juggernaut, it gets all these different bits, 20 Berserkers can swing around. And where you had one Armager in the middle and sort of these ones staggered behind it, suddenly all 5 of these are tagged by this one hellish brick. Because it can pile and consolidate 6 inches, it has 3-inch engagement range, and you are suddenly pinned in your deployment zone by a 20-man brick, which I just hate it. It's horrid. So my advice for that one... Sorry.
Go on.
I'll say my advice for that one is make sure you're spacing enough between the front and back rows and force him to answer on the points. If you are not letting him engage the majority of the army all at once, that's a win. And if you're saying putting an Armager on each point to deny primary, he has to... His trading pieces, he has to send more to remove those than you do to remove his. And you can actually out-attrition that slowly. It's just making sure you don't get your army tagged up all at once.
The other thing I found in dealing with really combat-heavy armies, and Rees, Stig, you guys can tell me whether you think this is viable or not, but it's something I heard a long time ago and I found works really well. If you're dealing with a combat-heavy army, if you spread your units out, right, spread them out as far as you can, so that that army then has to figure out which direction to go in. If you're going to send a World Eater brick into one Armager, and it's too far away to do anything about anything else, then that World Eater brick is just by itself then, and you can kind of punch back or shoot back. But if you're all bunched up, then
playing their game for them.
Yeah, they can full send. If you spread out as much as you can against the combat armies, that seems to be the way to go, right?
Yes and no. You don't want to spread out too much to not be getting used to the defender. Obviously, it's all about the stacking the auras or like the warden. But yeah, if you're letting your army get tagged by sort of 2 units, you're in for a rough game. Don't group too much, definitely.
And
Uh,
Rees, my head might go towards looking, and again, not on all combat armies, but in some instances, that would why I maybe would look at putting something in reserve, so I can use that movement that way. To Steve's point of spreading without losing so much of what the defender brings you.
Threatening rapid ingresses in that sort of matchup is huge. I'll say this now. I'm going to say it every time. If you're not using rapid ingress in a game, start. It is one of the strongest strats in the game, especially for things like a Warglaive and melee matchups. Making sure they have to keep that one brick slightly further back to stop you getting it is really big. Rapid ingress is huge.
Especially when you've got units that move 12 inches, right? We've got all of our baby knights move 12 inches, rapid ingress them wherever you want. And then you've got all of that movement. Or if you've chosen the extra movement, great, even better. You can come in where you want and go nuts. All right, we better get to the next question. The optimal amount of Questoris Erastus to bring how many armages? I think we've kind of covered that off, Heidi 84. Thank you for the question. Do we think this is still a good counter for current potential Eldari meta with unnerfed Fuegan and heavy anti-tank splashing across most armies? How do we feel about that matchup?
I think we just shake hands and accept we're about to get put over the table. It is a horrible matchup, and it is a miserable one to play. Unless they bounce on go turn, we do not have breathing room. It's really tough, basically.
That is one where the -1 damage is like, who cares?
10 fire dragons still kill 3 armages on average.
Yeah. Here's my melter range fire dragons. Do what you want to do.
Miserable.
The Valor Strike. Are there any detachments which are better into Eldar, or do we just all struggle?
You know what weirdly is better into Eldar? The
I know what you're going to say. Yeah, I knew you were going to say it. I knew you were going to say it. And there's a sound somewhere from across the Atlantic, preaching how good that is. And he is right. He is right. It is better in some ways because you
can't turn off Overwatch in that one. You turn off Overwatch. It isn't Overwatch Formgeist's Fury. It doesn't count. So you can still just Overwatch with a Flamer and threaten any Eldar unit. And they get picked up by it.
They really do not like Flamers. And you've got Overwatching ones. So
Stig is talking about our friend Jind Singh, who we will get on to do a deep dive into the Questoris Forge Pact detachment at some stage as well. All right, Gabby, question for Stig and Rees for this episode. Looking forward to playing the WTC scene with Spearhead, and I would like you, if possible, pretty please, to drop some knowledge on the movements and how this detachment would do on WTC terrain, and also weaknesses and strong points against different factions. That is a huge question, Gabby. We can't go through all the different factions, but WTC terrain, how do you feel about this detachment in that space?
You generally want to start stuff in reserve. It's the light boards, not so much, but to be actually fair, light boards as well, because you're going to struggle to put it all in somewhere safe. Avoid heavy boards. Generally, knights are okay on heavy boards because towering helps us ignore the rules for the terrain. But with these armages, you're going to car park up, and it is actually really hard to navigate. So my biggest tip would be just don't play Spearhead on a heavy board.
Right. Gravity says in the recent ITT in the UK, Spearhead was not very common, vastly outperformed by QC lists, Questoris companions. Considering the Defender Warden Armager lists are some of the best all-rounders, do we have any insight on why they were struggling to blunt reliably? And also, please tell people to stop taking Crusaders and Spearhead. The +1 to hit bondsman is not it.
He's right.
He's right. Okay,
I think
people stop doing that.
The issue is if you try to blunt, with Spearhead in teams, you can get pinned very easily. The concept of that is in a 5-mans, the way you do it is you put a card down, they give you 2 attackers, you choose one from it, rinse and repeat as you go. If you get to the point where you're forced to put the knights down and you're given, say, Eldar and World Eaters, you're going to get bodied. So it's really tough. Whereas Questoris, you can build a pushing army, so you can play more aggressive. So I think that's the main reason. Spearhead doesn't really have a place in teams outside of 8-mans. And I think Knights, Imperial styles, struggle in teams at the minute in general anyway.
Right.
I think also there is an element with depending on with some teams, especially 5-man teams, like it's easier to get people. Sometimes you're more likely to maybe have someone that's got a knight's army. It's probably not their primary army, but they're going to pick that up because you're trying to get what's right. And Quest Taurus is more likely to, those are things that people have. Not many people have 10 spare armigers sitting around, even in different colors. So, it's easier to build into a teams that way as well.
Right. Do we have a preference for loadout when it comes to the little knights?
I like stubbers.
Stubbers all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly if you're taking 6 warglaves, you kind of need to have stubbers on those suckers, right? Just to be able to deal with any of the little bodies that are running around the paddock. I don't know why I said paddock there. That's probably the worst possible. I wanted to say board, and then I wanted to say field, and I was like, field's not right. And then I wanted to say wicket, and I was like, it's definitely not cricket. So field.
Just round the grove, yeah. Just
around the, yeah. We've got all these little bodies running around the paddock. That's a different game. It's a whole different game. It's a more outdoorsy game.
It's Steve's weekend, everybody.
That's what I'm off to do this afternoon. Anyway, look, I was going to carry that on, but I won't. The red box cult boss asks, would you have 1 big and 11 or 2 bigs in Spearhead? We've kind of answered that part of it. Moirax is worth considering. There are a couple of people in the Discord who swear by the Moirax. Rees, your opinions on the Moirax?
I think they have a space. I do think they are playable. I don't know if playable means I would take them over a normal armiger for the points difference.
Right.
I don't think they're hugely worth it. I know there's a certain Daniel that will probably disagree with me, but yeah. I don't prefer.
That's who I'm thinking of.
I think they're great. I think the problem is that they have is the navigator and the Cadus that fit in exactly the extra gap that you want, because you're going to have to lose one of those if you want to take the Moirax over your other stuff. So that's their problem. They're good. They're not great, and they're not worth the extra points.
If they were 10 points less, I'd be all over them. Like, definitely.
Sure. Yeah. I just want them to be slightly different points, all of them, so that when you're 5 points out, you can switch out one of the baby knights just to get to the right. Anyway, that's my problem, no one else's. Jay, when you take Spearhead and team,
people's problem, Steve.
Okay, good. We're all equally OCD nerds. When you take Spearhead list and teams, which factions are you hoping to pair against and which ones are you avoiding? I think the message is don't take Spearhead and teams. That's what we've kind of come to. But if you do, does it make any difference if you've taken Spearhead or any other knights?
It does.
Detachment, which ones you really want to not get paired into?
So there's a lot of armies which can quite easily pick up a lot of armigers. But on the flip side, like I was saying earlier, it's that difference in matrix where there's some armies which just cannot pick up that many armigers. The main thing to look at is look at the opponent's army lists. How many armigers can they pick up on their go turn? So that's without you playing aggressive. That's without you exposing all your stuff. How deep into the lines can they get? If they can pick up 4 to 5, I would usually try to avoid pairing them.
Do you want to do something? Do you want to say to your captain, if you look at armies that have damage output of 2 or 3, lots of Custodes, Blood Angels, those sorts of things where my -1 damage really matters.
Give me that.
Give me them. Right.
Yeah.
Great. Heidi84, what could some trap picks that most would not realize in Spearhead?
Crusader.
No, the Crusader. Okay, people, stop doing that. The Crusader doesn't happen. Is there a favorite Moirax loadout? Man, too much time on
double graviton blaster.
Yeah,
it's good. Yeah,
that's fun.
I think that's the best option, or double claw, because it looks cool. Like,
double claw,
Moirax to win.
Graviton.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Are there any other big options worth taking other than Defender, Ward, and Castigator? Is 3 bigs worth looking at?
No.
In this decision? No.
You lose too many armigers.
Yeah. And the bigs don't get access to any of the strats. We've covered that off, so there's no benefit in taking them. We've answered that question. We've answered that question. We've answered that question. We've done
God.
pretty well. We've gone a lot of these questions. I apologize for Matthew and Captured Pig. What qualities have served best in this detachment? We've answered that question. Who has the better tattoos? DJ Big Night Superband. Who has the better tattoos? And why is it Rees? We all have tattoos. Mine are absolutely the worst, which is why I swear long sleeves all the time. And I don't know if, for our YouTube viewers, I don't know if we want to get our tats out right now.
There you go.
We'll just
I
say
can
it's
only
Rees.
show you part of an arm. Keeps going. Keeps going.
Right, though. Wow.
That is a lot more than my one.
Okay.
I've got two
DJ,
arms.
we've answered your question. It's Stig has the best tattoos. And Steve has the worst tattoos, but at least he has some. Yeah, we've kind of covered everything else off. So that's it. Thank you very much, Rees, for your expertise. Thank you, Stig, for taking time out to
Turning
be
up.
with us. Just
He
nice to
struggled
see
with
you,
that as
mate.
well.
I do appreciate it. People don't realize that this podcast wouldn't have happened if Stig hadn't given me words of encouragement right at the very beginning. It just would not be a thing. And now we're 32 or something episodes deep, which is just so cool. And now we have YouTube going and we have dice, and it's all because Stig said nice words at the beginning. Folks, we have, I want to plug Tabletop Tactics. You get to see Stig and his friends there doing battle reports. They're just the best in the business. They're amazing. So make sure you check them out. Brian Jones, our other regular collaborator, is on Art of War 40K, which you can find on the interwebs. He does coaching. Check him out there. We're on Discord, as I've mentioned. We're on Patreon, as I've mentioned. It's $3 a month to get discounts on stuff. We're on YouTube. It's all at the website, which is 40kbynight.com. We will continue to do these deep dives. I know also Stig and I are very keen to do some hobbying stuff, and Stig, you've got access to, again, one of the greatest there is. Your boy Fletch is
Absolutely.
fingers crossed to
What
help
a
us out.
machine.
Yeah, he's amazing. So some
His
painting
latest
tips.
stuff is insane.
Yeah. It's just, and you can see all this at Tabletop Tactics, which I think we've played more in this episode than any other episode ever been.
Stig hasn't said it once.
No, but looking after my people, as I said. Folks, thank you for joining us. You are the greatest. We really appreciate you downloading the episodes, watching on YouTube, however it is you're consuming this content. Keep on doing it. We love doing it for you. We will see you again next time for Rees and Stig. I'm Steve Joel, and this has been 40K by